So, yeah, I would just really invite you to take that idea of caught rather than taught to heart. And not just what you might catch from me in this webinar, in this gathering, but what's possible for us to catch from each other and from our clients, and even from the space around us and between us. The reason I'm in Southern California is for a conference that's looking into the work or the insights of a philosopher named Sidney Banks. I discovered Sid Banks about 6-7 years ago when a success coach of my acquaintance, who frankly used to irritate me a fair amount because he was very rah, 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 go, go, go. And on the one hand, my friend Michael was inspiring, but on the other hand, he also seemed to me very glib. I don't know if you know glib, but for me, glib means like on the surface, you take a deep lesson, a deep insight, and then you collapse it into a simple formula. And like, all you have to do is change your mind to change your life. And it's like, right. And a deep insight becomes a very shallow and pushy and a not nice thing. And that's how I used to find my friend Michael. And one day, I was feeling frustrated in my coaching practice and in my business. And I thought, well, I think I'll sign up for Michael's newsletter. I promise you I'm going somewhere with this story. I'll sign up for Michael's newsletter. And maybe he knows something I don't know. Very big of me, right? So I start reading his newsletter again. And something was different. The feeling was completely different. I went, whoa, what happened to my friend Michael? I couldn't put my finger on it, but the feeling I got, what I caught from reading his newsletter was so, it was like coming home. I got a feeling of stability, but not the stability of being planted like a stake in concrete or like a fence post. The stability of being like bamboo, something that's deeply rooted and interrooted, that can sway, that can move, and yet always in contact with the ground. So I got this beautiful feeling from Michael. And I started to look at what happened to Michael. And I discovered that Sid Banks happened to Michael. And Sid Banks was a welder, a man who worked with his hands. He had a 9th grade education. So in the US and Canada, that's the equivalent of just beginning high school. And it's not very much education by most of our standards. And he was just kind of innocently bumbling through his life when he had an awakening experience, an enlightenment experience. And it always gets me, these people who are just going through life with no interest in spiritual matters or self-development or self-improvement or personal growth, and boom, they get enlightened. It's like, what's up with that? I've been sitting in the enlightenment classroom like this my whole life, going, call on me, and nothing happened. Anyway, Sid has this awakening experience. And Sid went on to teach what he saw, and it became known as the three principles. So if you Google the three principles and Sidney Banks, Sidney with a Y, you'll find lots of information. And I proceeded to learn all I could about what Sid saw. And at first, as I started to look at what Sid saw, it didn't look like headline news to me. The three principles that Sid talked about, and that to me actually are the underpinnings of coaching. That's why I'm taking your time today to tell you this story. The three principles are mind, which can be described, but this is just a pointer, as the intelligence and energy that animates and is behind all things. Consciousness, which is the capacity to be aware. It's not just awareness, it's the capacity to be aware. And thought, which is the power to perceive. And thought in this world includes emotion, sensation, all interior activity. And Sid saw that all experience actually comes from the inside out. So I'm going through life, or you're going through life, or our clients are going through life, and we hit what looks like a roadblock. And the client comes to you and says, you know, wow, I'm in this situation with my boss and I am stuck. I cannot move. I don't know what to do. And to the client, it looks like that stuckness is coming from the outside. His boss, his colleagues, the circumstances of the company, that invisible but still external thing called culture. The client is convinced that all of his or her problems exist outside. And yet, if that were true, every person in that situation would always see the same thing. If experience were coming to us from the outside, then we would have a consistent experience. But we don't. In fact, even with our stuck client, one day, on a scale of 1 to 10, their frustration with their boss is at an 8. And another day, on a scale of 1 to 10, their frustration with their boss is a 2. Same boss, same policies, same culture. And the insight was that that's because life actually happens from the outside in. It looks like we're experiencing the world, pardon me, from the inside out. It looks like we're experiencing the world from the outside in, but we're always only experiencing the world from the inside out. Sid saw something even more than that, because at first, to tell you the truth, that didn't blow my mind. I mean, I saw the truth of that. To me, I don't know about you, but to me that looked self-evident. I thought, yeah, that's the way it is. I don't always experience it that way. I don't always live as though that's how it is. But when I slow down and look, I can see that life happens from the inside out. But Sid's additional insight was that every one of us, all beings, are already whole. That there's a way in which all of life arises from that seamless, infinite energy of mind. And that wholeness and well-being are not states that we grow into or that we acquire through self-development and self-improvement. Wholeness and well-being are where we come from. One of your colleagues is about to have a baby. And nurses, maternity nurses, are great testifiers to this wholeness, because they see babies emerging whole, already okay. And then we start to have an experience of life from the inside out, and we get lost. And I can't account for why the human experience is that way. But it does look to me like it makes a tremendous difference for human beings when we remember two things. Life happens from the inside out, and every being is already whole and okay. There's a freedom then to relax and not worry so much about our experience of life. Because it looks to me increasingly that what I've always called stuck is really more like a baby's complaint of, my diaper's wet. Stuck is an expression of concern and frustration and resistance and complaint because we don't like our momentary experience of life. And that's perfectly fair. Don't have to like it all. But there's an innocent misunderstanding when we say we're stuck. We're not seeing that life never holds still. Thought is always moving, life is always moving, things are always changing. And when it comes right down to it, stuck is an impossibility. Because nothing holds still. So there are infinite implications for me about this little bit that I've shared with you for working with clients when they say, I don't know. But for now, what I'd like to do is step back and go to where I actually intended to start, and hear from you what your experience is when clients are saying, I don't know, or when clients are saying, I'm stuck, and what happens to you as a coach that makes that a problem. Does that make sense? And you can either raise your hand or just unmute yourself. And let me see how to do this. Yeah, you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself or use the chat. Let's see.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, it's Pim. So,
Hi, Pim.
I used to have an experience when the client said, "I don't know." I at that moment, I was trying to think or to observe that it's really he or she really doesn't know, or just need time to think. Just I don't know, or it just really don't know, or just thinking that, well, it's something, and let the brain to think, and let the brain just blank and think and reset or something. I don't know how to use the word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can observe the physiology or the voice that he or she is really don't know or just would like to think. So as a coach, I would I just give them space, just give the silence and let everything just silent for a while, and then listen for what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my experience.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds very wise.
Welcome.
Who else? What happens for you when a client is stuck or says, I don't know?
Hello.
Yes, hi.
Hello, this is Martine.
Hi, Martine.
Yeah, sometimes I have a feeling that I don't have so many clients who say they're stuck, but the I don't know comes quite often. And sometimes I'm not sure it's I don't know, or I just want to tell, I don't want to tell you.
Oh.
So it can put pressure on me as a coach, saying, oh, am I doing something that makes the client not feel safe to share, because there are things we don't dare to speak out loud,
Mm-hmm.
or in front of someone. So sometimes or I always have a doubt, like now the client is waiting for me to say something. They would like to hear something from someone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, it puts pressure on me as the coach. And the danger, you asked for, the danger for me is to switch to problem solving mode, like, oh, I have to do something about
Right.
it. But actually, I don't. They
Right.
have. But that's the risk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that, Martina. It sounds to me and feels to me like your listening is really deep there. That sometimes we may pick up that, is it that the client doesn't know, or perhaps the client doesn't want to say? And aren't we all familiar with that sense of pressure to perform? It's like, I'm the coach being paid. I have to produce some kind of movement here. And just to be able to observe that in yourself, I think, is a really good strength. And to be able to sit with it and not cave in and go into problem solving. What's showing up for me in this moment is that often clients and coaches experience I don't know as a problem state. It's like, what if I don't know is like the coolest thing ever? And that's not something we have to sell our clients, because if a client comes to you in a problem state and you go, oh, I don't know is the coolest thing ever, I mean, the client could get really offended. They could say, you're not honoring me. You're not respecting me. You don't get it. And yet, as coaches, there is the potential to both know the human frustration of not knowing and that they are in the coolest thing ever. You can have both of those at the same time. So we can have compassion for our fellow human beings who are feeling what we've all felt, like this is a mess. And at the same time, know that when we authentically don't know, that's the moment when new thought becomes available. And this is something where that insight is something your client can catch from you. It's not the tool or the technique you use. It could be that a tool or technique will occur to you, but which tool or technique, if the shift doesn't come with the tool or technique, the shift comes from that moment where you authentically see that two things can happen at once. A human being can be stuck and miserable, and at the birthplace of a new idea. And that you can have compassion for the discomfort and utter confidence in the good news. At the same time, you don't have to sell a change of attitude. You can just offer that conviction with your presence. And sometimes you don't say anything. And sometimes a tool or a question will pop out into your own mind. But the cool thing, because I could see it in your face, Martine, a minute ago, that realization that new thought is available, that's where the gold is. Does that make sense to you? And the maddening thing, of course, is that sometimes clients go away and they have the new thought 2 hours later in the shower, and we don't get the credit.
It's okay, even if I don't get the credit, but it's okay if they have the thought. I can live with that.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hong Ming here. I'd just like to share a thought.
Yes.
I do not know doesn't necessarily need to come with any sort of feelings or thought or negative connotations attached to it.
Yes.
I think as a coach, you can just take it along like anything that the client offers. It's actually an opportunity. And if you see it as an opportunity, then I think I've seen Ben does this before, right? I do not know. If the client offers you, I do not know, then surely the client knows something. So a counter offer to the client will be to share, let's talk about what you do know. And then you take it from there. That's one.
Okay.
The other one is to work on the feelings part, because now we've gone through the thinking part and you reach that point where you do not know. So maybe the thinking itself has clogged up or something. But let's explore feelings then, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about, your present circumstances or whatever it is that you're talking about? It's just a thought.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's so true. Sometimes clients are perfectly okay with not knowing. Sometimes they have expectations. I know for myself, I'm very comfortable with not knowing until it's like I have a little timer in the back of my brain. And so I'll be fine not knowing for 3 weeks and 12 hours. But after that, I've got to know what to do.
Yeah.
And I won't even know that I actually have a time limit on being in mystery until the timer goes off. And it's like, okay, it's time to get this together. But you're absolutely right. And so thank you for that.
Okay, you're welcome.
And there's so many channels, aren't there, for a coaching conversation. And by channels, I mean we can look at thinking, we can look at feeling, we can look at body sensation, we can look at imagery, metaphor, dream, movement. Absolutely. Lots of invitations we can issue. Who's next? Another question is just anything, when you heard about the topic for today or for this evening, what came to your mind and what were you hoping to learn or find out about?
Oh, something is wrong with my...
Sorry?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm in from Vietnam. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. When I hear about the topic today that dealing with the customer with the client who say I don't know, I expect that we may sitting together to discuss how we can continue to raise a powerful question to 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 raise the awareness of the clients that what they know that they don't know. So that's the expectation from us, because when we practice, we also face with the client. We have a true client come to us, and they also have a wondering between two options. And we also raise the question that what difficulties raise the what difficulty you have to face with when you to make the decision. And he also said that so we facing with the real situation like this, and we expected in this discussion we might know the way to continue with the more powerful question
More powerful
to
questions.
yes, to support, to continue the coaching process, because we also get stuck when the clients say, I don't know. We don't know how to continue to understand more about the situation, how to continue to to uh, to continue the coaching process. We were so confused.
Yes.
Really.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. And I can say me too.
Yeah.
Me too. That experience of feeling stuck. Janet Harvey, who's a wonderful, wonderful coach, has a coaching school in the States, and I studied mentor coaching with her a few years ago. And I made some comment about powerful questions because 20 years ago when I was in coach training, I remember we did an exercise where there was a client at the center of the room, and then everyone in the group was supposed to ask a powerful question. It's like my brain just closed down. And I thought, I wouldn't know a powerful question if it hit me between the eyes. It's like, I just went stupid. And I shared that story with Janet just a couple years ago. And she said, well, you know what? The ICF competency is not powerful questions. It's powerful questioning.
So about what?
It's powerful questioning. It's not in the question, it's in the way we ask the question.
Yes, that's correct. That
really made a difference for me. Because I had been trying to think of what's the question that will get my client unstuck, instead of what's the space or the attitude or the understanding that will see my client as unstuck, that sees stuck as a temporary state and not a problem to be solved. And again, you know, there are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of questions and tools. How do we know which question and which tool to use in which moment? If we're actually trying to go through our database, I'm sitting with you, you're feeling stuck, I'm feeling stuck, and I go through my database of 10,000 masterful coaching questions. I have to think really fast. And meanwhile, I've left you, right? I'm back here going, holy cow. That one, no. But if I stay with you, knowing that as a human being, you have the infinite capacity to get unstuck in any moment. I don't know how you're going to do it. Haven't a clue. And I'm not worried because I know you have that capacity. And I start to relax a little bit and we connect. And as we both relax and connect, an idea will come. And it might be some random idea, a story about my grandson. Or you might start talking about something. But as we each relax and settle down and connect, the feeling changes. And that's when a question or a story or an observation comes to mind and the conversation changes. And it can be very disconcerting because it's almost like I've got competing metaphors in my mind, trying to reach for the right one. It's like, when we look for a powerful question, we're grabbing a rock instead of a life preserver. When we relax and look instead for the space in which the client will always find a new idea, we've got a life preserver. So as appealing as it is to think, if I could just learn one more great question, then I will know what to do when I have a client who presents with X, Y, or Z. But there are an infinite number of ways that human beings get stuck, and an infinite number of ways that human beings get unstuck. And if we're looking for the right question out of those infinite number of ways, that's a tedious and unnecessary process. When as a coach, we can point the client, in fact, instead to their capacity to always have a new thought. And point them either explicitly or simply by the way we are with them to the fact that when we get quiet, when we settle down, that's when new feelings, new ideas, new impressions come. And in that space, any number of things might occur to you. It might occur to you to invite the client to take a walk. It might occur to you to invite the client to write something. It might occur to you to ask the client what's on their mind. It might occur to you to ask the client what they think they need. It might occur to you to ask the client, what do they think is on the other side of being stuck? It's not about asking the right question. It's about asking any question from the right space. Does that make sense? And the great thing is when we're in that space, the question we ask doesn't have to work because the value isn't in the question, it's in that space. And you know, I wish it were different. I'd love to have the question box that I could just give you. Except that's not really true because the more deeply we see this, the more fun it is. Thank you. Oops.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. The thing that I notice is that sometimes we think that, you know, what I'm talking about is the space seems like some ooey gooey, mystical, theoretical thing. And there is a mystical component, but it's not at all ooey gooey, for lack of a better word. We all know when we look at our human experience, we have evidence that when human beings settle down, they get smarter. You take a human being, whether they're a 2-year-old having a tantrum or a 42-year-old having a tantrum, and you let them get more and more and more ramped up and put more and more pressure on them to answer a question or figure something out, and you get a crazier and crazier and crazier human being. You take the same human being, and this is the genius of 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds have tantrums, and 20 seconds after the tantrum is over, it's like history. They're not worried about their tantrum. The 42-year-old gets over the tantrum and then makes the tantrum into a project to prevent in the future. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of work. Just get over it. Just let it flow by. Just allow that, put your confidence in that marvelous process of settling down that every human being knows. Thank you so much. Who's next?
Hi, this is Linda.
Hi, Linda.
I am actually. It's a very interesting thing about this. When human beings settle down, they have the capacity to see through things, because it is very true about when you are in a coaching process and you see that your client is stuck. And it happened to me. I felt like my heart beats it's also expressed physically. There's an expression inside and you feel like, oh, and your mind starts focusing on many type of things that you could do to unstuck your client. And even when when the client sees that suddenly the coach settled down, relaxes, and in this space bring confidence and trust, then suddenly something already gets unstuck.
Yes.
And the coach himself passes through this feeling to his client, and the way he speaks, the tone, even if we speak about another subject, and as you said, you can even come up with a story, and suddenly we go into a subject, and after we go into this second subject, we can come back in a subject that matters more to the client, and suddenly you feel that already something is operated, but you don't define it in this space. But the client reminds you and comes back and say, oh yes, I'm thinking now, and I feel like, yes, you know what, and then it comes up,
right.
And I had a client who actually she didn't get unstuck during the coaching, but she wrote to me. It was 2 days ago, and she wrote to me and she told me, I thank you for this coaching session because it was really, really very enriching to me. I'm like, oh. So, and she told me, I thought about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I feel like something is going on. And I was surprised because I didn't have the feeling at the end of the session that she got really unstuck, but she got unstuck actually.
That's beautiful.
So, probably by relaxing and also putting maybe a note of humor.
Yeah.
Sometimes just takes out the doubt and the uncertainty that is operating in the client's mind.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. And I love that you mentioned humor for a couple of reasons. One, it's one of my favorite things, so that's good. And it also points to how every coach has a different, we all have different personalities, different forms. And for some of us, humor will be a natural thing to bring into a conversation. For someone else, it'll be an incredibly refined distinction or a beautiful metaphor, a pointed question. And there's a way in which, as coaches, we tend to look at each other and try to copy the form of what is working instead of seeing that how do I want to say this? We try to copy the form of what seems to be working in coaching conversations instead of seeing under the form to the intelligence that's making one coach use humor, another coach use a metaphor, another coach use a question, and put our confidence in that underlying intelligence and go to the source instead of to the expression of the source in a single situation. So thank you. Who's next? I'd love to hear from you.
I would like to share, this is David here, David Tan.
Hello, David.
Hi. I would like to share a thought, not so much an experience, and I thought perhaps you can give some thoughts on my thoughts here.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there has been, well, don't ask me how I heard about this, but some say that when spies were asked to follow a target, all right, spies as in James Bond, James Bond. You know? When spies were trained to follow a target, they were trained not to follow them by looking at their face, but instead to follow them looking at their feet. Now, the theory behind this is that when you look at somebody at the face, somehow or another, there's a visual connection, even though it's invisible, all right? So somebody can be looking at you from the side, from the side of you, but you can somehow sense, there's this sensing that takes place that someone else is looking at you, and you would turn to the correct direction somehow.
Wow.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was just thinking just now as you were discussing about all this, I don't know, and then holding the space, for them. Now, it's quite common in many cultures, I think, that we try not to keep silent in the conversation. But that is, to me, the space of talking.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if there's a space for listening.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm listening to this client and he says, I don't know, and I hold the space for listening, I'm not going to let it go. I'm just going to continue listening,
Mm-hmm.
I don't allow that listening to break,
Yes.
I'm just wondering what will happen and what does that do to the client in my own how would I say imagination. I would think that he will probably work extra hard, to try to deeper into his heart, in his mind, and to deeper into his feelings, to try to bring out something more rather than just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That if I were to just continue to keep quiet and listen and make it known to him, I'm listening to him, without saying, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I love the feeling I'm getting as I listen to you, David. I trust that. I love the feeling I got as I listened to you. My experience for my own coaching, I often am silent for relatively long periods of time, much longer. Sometimes clients will say, "Are you there?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm here." And as you say, what I loved as I listened to you is the way you talked about holding the listening. I felt like you were describing an active connection with the client. So you're not just being quiet. You haven't just stopped talking. And it's not even that you're not waiting for them to figure it out. You're listening. And to me, that quality of listening accesses what Sidney Banks called mind, this bigger intelligence. And I don't see that as a personal intelligence. I don't put any particular qualities on it, but there's an animating energy intelligence behind everything. It's what causes acorns to turn into oak trees and, baby hippopotami to turn into grown-up hippopotami. They don't turn into rhinoceroses. And so when we listen in that spacious yet connected and committed way, it seems to me that both we and the client settle into greater access to that greater intelligence. And I do notice that clients frequently have more to say if I'm just quiet for longer. And I invite all of you to play with that and experiment with that. And when I don't know what to say, I generally don't say anything. And that happens to me a lot. And sometimes, the worst thing that can happen is a client says, "Are you there?" And you go, "Yeah, I just don't know what to say, so I'm waiting." It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I hope you will experiment with that, because I'm convinced you'll have very interesting and lovely results with it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Seriously, I don't know what will come out of it, but
yeah. And it's not a circus trick. So it's not something that works or doesn't work. It seems to me what it is, it's a way of accessing more intelligence. And any number of things can happen, and the results will vary. But it's a beautiful thing to bring into coaching.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Molly.
Hi.
I may just add this and then here. Okay. Talking about the space, I always believe that somehow the client knows, because that is at the conscious level, he doesn't know at the logical mind level.
Mm-hmm.
But at the subconscious level, there is, you can call it, I'm not sure whether it's the same thing you're talking about, the intelligence, but at the subconscious level, he or she knows.
Mm-hmm.
So if we are able to, in my sessions, if I'm able to hold the space with the trust, the intimacy, and make the client relax, I will normally ask, what if you know? And many a time, the client will be able to articulate. It's like he or she will go into this mode where it is no longer logical up here, and she will just play with it.
Yes.
I know. And somehow it will come out.
Mm-hmm.
That's my experience.
Yes. And what I appreciate about what you said is that it looks to me and felt to me like it wasn't just the question, the words you used, but the place from which you asked that question. Mm-hmm. Your understanding that there is a knowingness or a capacity in the client to know below their conscious thinking. Mm-hmm. And so there's an invitation to them to explore. Mm-hmm. It occurs to me to share a distinction. One way to think about not knowing is one way human beings experience not knowing is, I'm confused. But another way of experiencing not knowing is wonder. Not knowing is a place in which to wonder. And the quality, at least in the English word, of wonder is expansive, curious, open. There's something almost magical. The word wonder is filled with possibility. And confusion and wonder are similar to anxiety and excitement. I forget the name of the psychologist, but there's a psychologist who says the difference between anxiety and anxiety is excitement without the breath. And I would say confusion is wonder without the breath, or without the space. So confusion takes I don't know and turns it into a problem. Wonder takes I don't know and turns it into a possibility. And it seemed to me that when you were sharing your question, you were sharing it from a place of wonder. And that is what makes the difference for the client. I've heard coaches say to clients, what if you did know? But they're saying it from a place of problem solving, from a place of pressure, from a place of you have a problem of not knowing, and we're going to solve your problem of not knowing, instead of you have an opportunity of not knowing, and we're going to play with your opportunity of not knowing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
It can be very useful, I think, for us as coaches to look under our tools and techniques to see what is the source code, if you will, that makes those effective and ineffective. Because otherwise we become, if we get hung up on the tools, we can become like somebody who's learned carpentry from YouTube. You know, they have a nice toolbox and a lot of fancy tubes and tools, and they've watched videos, but they don't actually know the feeling of wood. And we need to have the feeling of coaching.
Hi, Molly.
Hi, how are you, Julia?
I'm good. As I was listening to, so many things that that you were saying, that I wanted to share an experience. I feel that there's so much that is just being there. If like you're holding the space, and sometimes the client is just talking to himself. It's like, I don't know, but he knows that you're there to hold the space, and it's almost throwing out that question without, it's not, he doesn't mean that he doesn't know. Mm-hmm. It's almost like just some thoughts that come out. It's almost like I need to think about it. Yes. And then something will come out. So it is, but I feel that it arises from that space that you're holding for them. Mm-hmm. It's like they know you are there and it's safe, mm-hmm. and it's okay to say anything. And I don't know, and then another thought will come. And it's so much based on that space that is held. Yes. If the space goes to a rational space, it's gone. It's like so it always brings back the presence so so much because I've never felt that before our last, our advanced learning. So you feel how important that authentic presence can give.
Yes.
And I must say I'm a little bit guilty on that, in the sense that sometimes especially with new clients, I start by inviting them to this space that we both share.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly I connect with them very, very well. And I most of the time I can do that within the first session. I feel that there's two ways, there's trust, there's intimacy. And I remember there's one case where the client was in a hurry. She doesn't think that 20 minutes can help her solve anything. So she wanted to solve a problem.
Yes.
So I went through inviting her to the space that we have and asked her about the topic, and all that. And she was, by the end of 20 minutes, she got something that she was so surprised. So it's like, it's really holding the space. And sometimes with new clients, we need to invite them to this space because they were maybe not used to having a space like that for them before.
Oh, thank you, Julia. I think that's very important. The kind of conversation that we're talking about today is not typical in most of our cultures, in most of our environments, in most of our communities, work communities, personal communities. Even with good friends, we often don't actually inhabit this deeper space. And so I do think that it's an important part of setting the foundation of coaching with new clients. And for me, me too, I can get lazy and show up for a coaching call with just like this part of my brain. And I don't even know why I do that, but I do that. And the quality of the conversation is really shallow compared to what's possible when I show up with everything and trust in something bigger than I am and bigger than the client. But absolutely, I think we have a duty to our clients to let them know that this is a different kind of conversation, that this is a different kind of space. And I use different language with different clients. I'm not married to a particular model or way of explaining what we're up to. But I find that with just about everybody, with everyone, I can find words that will make sense for them of the equivalent of together we're going to settle down and get smarter. Together we're going to get quieter and look at things in a bigger, deeper way. And so thank you. That's very important.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Something else that's occurring to me is that one of the things we're talking about here is how we go about thinking and feeling. And we can use our analytic minds, which are wonderful, wonderful tools, we can use thinking that we've already got. It's like we bring a database of life experience and learning and perception and feeling, and the client brings that too. But no matter how vast our life experience is, no matter how vast our training, it's still it's like limited to the hard drive. And coaching is an opportunity to go beyond the hard drive of the coach and the client and plug into the network of whatever this greater intelligence that I talked about at the very beginning is. And again, you don't need to have a particular spiritual or religious tradition to observe that intelligence at work. It's at work in the movement of the galaxies, in the growth of trees, in the way that paper cuts heal. You know, I don't have to figure out. I would not use my analytical mind to heal a paper cut. That would be crazy. And we need, as coaches, to develop and deepen our appreciation of and awareness of and confidence in that deeper, greater intelligence that's available to us and to our clients. Because if all we give our clients is improved access to what I'm calling their hard drives, that's a really tiny payoff. We can give our clients, whether they think about, you know, explicitly or not, but we can give them the experience of accessing an infinite hard drive. That's way cooler. That's a lot more useful. And it's infinitely practical because it maps to every situation, every conceivable problem, and not just 2 + 2 = 4.
Molly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Molly. Hi, Molly.
I think we've got 2 people. Who's?
Can you hear me?
Yes, there we go. Hi. Hi, Cecilia.
Hi.
Yeah.
So just following on what you're just saying, right? That's kind of the sense I'm getting from listening to everything that we've just heard, that all the nuggets shared actually give us as coaches possibility to play in our own presence and in our own, so being able to hold the 2 contradictory energies of stuckness and possibility and looking at it with different mindsets and perspectives. So actually being able to bring that to the, you know, when a client says, I don't know, not to get hooked as a coach and get stuck there as well, but to actually hold the coaching and be very coach-like in the way that we're showing up, in a sense. And you know, it's like I have a new appreciation of what it means to hold the process by actually being the process in your presence, in the way that you're present in that conversation, by holding a mindset of, you know, of possibility and curiosity and expansiveness, and being able to self-manage our getting hooked and getting stuck with the client and bringing the energy of expansion and possibility to that space. So it's almost like it's evolved now for me from holding the coaching process to being the coaching process in that conversation.
Yes. Yes. And that's something that we achieve, if achieve is even the right verb, by insight, by seeing that clients have this, share this same infinite capacity for new thought, rather than by believing it or using some technique. It's the more we see that, the more we just remember it, the more we relax into it, the more it will animate our coaching. And I just feel like I need to confess. I mean, there's sometimes when it just doesn't look that way to me at all. And that's okay, because that changes too. That changes too.
Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Yeah, I just heard the whole conversation, and I heard that you talk that if the client say I don't know, it means that maybe client confused or wonder about something.
Yes.
But from my point of view, I think that maybe we have another case that they know, but they are not ready or willing to change. Yeah, because I share with you the reality when I examine the coaching with the client. They, for example, if their problem related to, on the decision making on the job or something like this, maybe it's easier for them to make the decision or willing to change. But if the situation here for on the requirement for the communication, it may be more difficult, because I got the real situation that the client, they got the problem in communication with their kids, their children.
Yes.
Yeah, and we also raise a lot of questions to draw out information, and we also get bullet point, and also we even focus on the scale already. They know the scale they are, and they also can describe the scale they want to be on. That means improve. And even when I also ask them that, so if you reach to, for example, this level, so what should you think that you can do to reach to this level? They can list out all. But at the end of the story, I think that maybe we can close the conversation here. But suddenly she come to me and she said that I can say that it may be the least that I may do to improve this relationship or communication with the kid, but I don't know how I can firm to how to say, to follow this activity, to follow this action I list out. So even I ask question that, so if you don't know who may know or who may support you with this process, she still said that I really don't know.
Yeah.
So that the reason why I come here, and please also please you tell me, you advise me how I can how to say strictly follow the thing that I know, but I don't know how I can follow. So I think that the problem here is that they know that they may need to do, but they are not ready or willing to do.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to check and see if I'm hearing this correctly.
Yes.
If I hear you correctly, this is a real situation with a client and her children. She wants to
Yes.
improve the relationship. She wants to change some things.
Mhm.
She says she knows what to do. She
Yes.
knows how to do it. She came up with steps to do it, but she's not ready to do those steps. And she doesn't know how to get ready.
Yes.
And what I would say, to me, I see this all the time in myself. I see it in coaches. I see it in clients. We have preconceived ideas of what a solution is going to look like. But if that were really the solution, I'm just pausing because I'm not sure that this is true. It sounds to me like she has an idea about what she should do. And how many of us have been in this situation? We think, okay, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to get fit, or I'm going to save money, or I'm going to declutter. And we can go to our coach and we can have a conversation. We can come up with the 6 steps we need to do that. But we still don't do that. And I would say, because there's something else, something deeper, something different. And if we keep trying to bang on that door of how do I make myself do these 6 steps, we're missing the point. Because if those 6 steps really wanted to be done right now, you'd be doing them. And so I would invite that client to get quiet and to clear her mind and to take another look. And I might even say something really bizarre like, what if you just put that problem aside for a week and not think about it. And trust, and I wouldn't even say trust, because at that point, if I were that client, it's like my trust level is kind of low in this particular topic. Just take it off your mind. You've given this a lot of thought. You have done your best. Take a break and see what comes to you. Because otherwise it's like we're banging on a locked door and there's an open door over there. But I wouldn't, when a client is in the banging on a locked door frame of mind, it doesn't always work to just take them and like turn their head over here to look at that open door because they're in this frame of mind. But if you can just honor the hard work she's done, honor that she really cares about this, and know that there's a deeper intelligence at work, and if she relaxes, that intelligence will provide her with an insight or an answer. Does that make any sense to you?
Way, I think.
and it doesn't have to. Just because I say it doesn't make it true.
Yeah. Because I'm just afraid that even in this case, if we are not, how to say, careful enough, maybe we will jump into consultant, not coaching anymore. In this step, yeah, I'm afraid that.
Yeah.
Molly, I think it might be very helpful. I think from my experience, when clients know exactly what they need to do and they still don't do it, I would like to explore with them, how does this idea or how does this, things that you know that you need to do, how does that feel for you? That's a very good way to check in with them. If they are struggling to even put a name on how they feel about the whole adventure, I will use always the word adventure. I mean, because if I know this is what I need to do and I'm not doing it, let's see that as an adventure. Because if you do it, it will help you to get a breakthrough because you know it, that if you do it, this is what you say. There must be some sense of excitement, or that there should be some connection between the knowing and the feeling. And if they can't name it, it shows that there is something that's being stuck. Because logically, if I can say that this is what I need to do and I can articulate out and even formulate that, the logical way is that I feel excited about it because, hey, I'm coming up with all these steps. So it is not, the only reason why they feel flat about it is that this is the right thing to do. This is a standard answer and I should do it. I must do it. I'm obligated. That kind of flatness, tell us that there is something missing there, not at the intellectual level, but something maybe there is a resistance that the client is not able to access to. So I would like to check in, how does that feel for you? And invite them to just open it up and just explore what's there. What's that holding you? It's certainly not intellectually, that is holding you back. There must be something still not open up. And the beauty part of it is that if the clients can acknowledge that emotions that is being buried, you can literally see them breaking down and kind of like, it's giving birth that, I'm angry. There's so much frustration here. I'm just, don't see that things is working out. Hey, there's a frustration. And if we can get the clients to acknowledge that and say, hey, what does that frustration tell you? What is important to you? What is that you're honoring here? You can see the whole conversation change. And then it's no longer about having to do something, is about being somebody else. So that's, what you say about the inside out approach, the wisdom, the intellect, but once they're able to acknowledge that, you can see a literal breakthrough in the entire space. Thank you, Molly.
That's beautiful, Ben.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very difficult for me to hear because the how to say the Wi-Fi is It's not good at this moment, but I hear some. I hear some. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. We are almost up in our time. You might like to just take a couple of moments to wrap up your thought and then just invite the students to check out.
Okay. So, first, I so love being with you guys. I'm very grateful, Ben, for this opportunity and grateful for all of your time and attention. I think I like the distinction between confusion and wonder, and it also connects to Ben's beautiful observation just a moment ago about the feeling that when clients don't know, often they experience it as a problem, and often without really being aware of it. They lock into a problem state, a very narrow and tight way of being with not knowing. And as coaches, we can offer them a more expansive, wonder-filled, possibility-filled space of not knowing, where the answer may still be invisible. But that's the good news, because new thought is possible, new feelings are possible, and the client has the capacity to access new thought and new feeling in any moment. And the more we live and coach from that feeling of conviction that there's a space of infinite possibility available to our clients, the more readily they'll be able to access it and go beyond the limitations of their analytical thinking, beyond the limitations of their memories, and into a space of infinite creativity and possibility. No, thank you, Ben.
Oh, thank you, Molly. It has been a great pleasure to have you, and I'm sure everybody here has enjoyed as a great feast in learning from your experience. So I'm very mindful about the time, so just let's take a couple of moments and just allow each of us to check out, as in what is your greatest takeaway from today's learning sessions. Anyone would like to just take this opportunity to share what's your takeaway?
This is Sophie here.
Go ahead, Sophie.
I'll try to be as coherent as I can. I think it is a very enriching session because you started asking about when clients stuck, and I think for coaches after some years of training, we are so excited about our tools and techniques that when clients say they are stuck, we'll be busy thinking of what tools and techniques can we use. So once that comes into play, we end up being stuck together with the client. But yet and again, I think the client and ourselves share that same essence, meaning if I may use what you have said, we share the same essence of having the mind, consciousness, and thought. And if we have the mind, consciousness, and thought, and if we allow that space to flow and allowing that stuck energy to go free, it kind of, it becomes a non-verbal, powerful questioning that move the coaching along. And and like you say, sometimes it happens during the sessions, and sometimes it may happen after the sessions, but that's okay. I think that's a state whereby the beauty about learning to coach and to be in the presence with client is allowing ourselves to let the energy flow, and also understanding that new thoughts are happening all the time, and like you say, new thoughts are available, and being stuck is just one of the thoughts. So I think that is my takeaway. I don't know whether am I making myself understandable.
You are certainly.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Sophie. I really acknowledge your progress in your journey as you learn to not allow the two, not you do not allow yourself to serve the two, but you allow the two to serve you. And I think this is a journey, I think, because in here we have coaches from all different levels of development, and what we are aspiring to be is embody the coaching, and that's where we want to be the coach rather than doing coaching. And it will come to a time whereby there is a place where we need to learn the skills. And certainly there are skills that we can learn to better manage the process. But again, as what Sophie has mentioned, it's not about us serving the two. There will be a time where you have to move on to allow the two to serve you. And I think that's where the mastery comes in. And in fact, that is one of the ICF core competency, that the coaches doesn't depend on formulated process, that you really truly rely on your presence, that you build those muscles, and out of that presence, you learn to listen differently. And certainly this is our desire, that all our coaches will eventually become a better being, because all of you are forced to train to listen differently every day. You don't listen to just the word, you listen to the meaning, you listen to the essence, you listen to the space, you listen to the energy, you try to listen to your intuitions, you try to feel the heartbeat. You know what I mean? You try to be holistic, in all your sensing. So that's what mastery is all about. Thank you. Anyone would like to take this opportunity to check out what is your greatest takeaway?
Can I share?
Okay, Tomi's from Japan, but
Yep, Tomomi is Japanese, but I'm connecting from Seoul. Hi, everyone. Today, I was kind of looking for, okay, so how do these great coaches deal with this client with I don't know? But it was such an eye-opening to learn that it's not only about the client, but for coaches ourselves. It was like when Molly said the problem comes from inside out. So not only the client who see the problem inside out, but us as coaches, when we see client with I don't know, it's us perceiving that client as a issue or problem. So it was kind of like a big hit, like, oh, so we always have to learn how to kind of get our perspective first before we deal with the client's perspective.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Tommy. Coach self-management as the key in managing the coaching process that makes the impact eventually. Thank you. Thank you. It's about the way we look at the word I don't know. So hopefully by the end of today's webinar, your relationship with this word I don't know changes. No longer see as, oh, it's just somewhere out there, let's try to solve it and fix it. I remember that's how I be when I was in early days as a coach. Kind of like, okay, something wrong with the clients, let's try to solve it. But I think, hopefully, out of today's sessions, your relationship with this word I don't know change. That it triggers kind of like a heightening sense in you as a coach. Wow, that's that opportunity there. That's an opportunity. Let me just be present and tune in, to your own sensing, as in, where that I don't know comes from. Does it come from the head, or does it come from somewhere else? You know, and embrace what Molly says. Just allow the silence, because we don't know. We don't know where it's coming from. And the best way to deal with that is just, I like the way Molly says, is just wait. Just wait until somebody just say something, or when somebody just got it, you know. But I think when we don't know, just keep quiet and just wait and trust the wisdom. You know, trust the process that is authentic, that is organic, to just stir the heart. You know, the more I learn to build my muscles, the more that I learn to tune into my senses, I realize that my heart actually feels more. I can feel the pain, the sharp poke. I can feel my heart beat fast. I can feel that excitement in my heart. And when I research and find that, wow, the heart is actually connected to a lot of senses. You know, even in the virtual space, the voice, that when somebody says something, that is vibration. You know, and that vibration is picked up by your sensing, and then I realize my way of sensing is ready to feel it in my heart. How does that feel? So there is a lot that we can offer. There's a lot that the clients can help us, you know, to be more human being. Toshi was here. If Toshi was here, I mean, she would echo the word that we are called to be human being, not human doing. The ability to sense and feel and connect, it is within our capacity. Wow, it has been a great and wonderful time, and we really appreciate, I guess, you know, every time Molly shows up, we can really take it a deep dive into the oceans and behold the beauty that is not visible to the naked eye. So Molly, I know that you're joining us in the advanced training, and you'll be doing a 3 series of teaching with us. Would you like to give us a preview of? I'm so sorry to catch you off.
Well, I will do it very quickly, but I also I have to leave very shortly for a meeting, unfortunately. But we'll be doing 2 classes that I did last year, authentic presence and deep listening, and then a new one this year on evocative asking. And what I loved about teaching last year was that Ben is, in my view, a genius at creating models to explain and point to what can be very difficult to explain and point to. I mean, he's just very good at that. And I get to just show up and do my presence thing. So it's like we come at it at the same thing from different sides. And I find that very exciting. We'll be looking deeper as what does it really mean to be present? What do we really mean when we talk about listening? What, if anything, is the doingness of those being activities? And how is it that they make a difference in coaching?
Yes, I think Molly, you tied it up. We talk about presence, and then we talk about listening, and now we talk about how we combine these two in our doing part in a more evocative asking. So thank you, Molly. We really appreciate you. See you. Thank you. We send our best wishes to you way back there. Thank you, Molly.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Molly.
Thank you, Ben. See you all again.
Thank you. We'll see you again. Well,
Thank you, Ben and Molly.
Molly, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.